smart, but I'm stupid. I'm gay, but I'm straight. I crop dust in Whole Foods. Baby, what it all comes down to.
That is a lot.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Trouble Stream, but specifically today, it's welcome to Sprints and Shoptalk, where we will be discussing story structure. Thank you to our beloved Stig for giving me a question that inspired this week's story. How's everybody doing today, or this week's topic? How's everybody doing today, Stig?
I'm drinking hot chocolate out of my Tum Tum mug. I'm kind of obsessing over Rihanna's maternity fashion choices the last week.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Google immediately.
And I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Grape Fry, how about you?
I'm doing okay. I had breakfast this morning, and I'm in a precarious situation, but we're gonna go with God, and it's all gonna be all right.
Go with Jod.
Go with Jod.
Regarding the coffee pot?
Yes.
Oh,
so there's
yeah.
a coffee pot on the stove. I don't know if it's 100% safe.
No,
but
girl, that glass will crack. That will, yeah.
It's a coffee pot.
No, if it's.
Well, how high is the oven on?
Low. It's on low, like 1.
It is precarious, but
She doesn't like the taste of radio waves, okay?
Well,
Leave her alone.
why can't you heat the coffee up in a microwave?
The microwave vibes are not it.
And glass in your stove, is it? Oh man. Oh, okay. Catherine, how are you?
I'm doing good. I've already done today's Wordle, Quirtle, and Seductquirtle today.
Nice.
And the crossword. I finished the New York Times mini crossword, the mini one, not the big one, in a minute and a half. So we're starting today off good. We're starting today off great. And I have lots of coffee, so
Okay.
I'm prepared for today's
We love it.
shrimp.
Okay. But there are a couple things on the agenda. First things first, we have
list.
something
Greg.
from one of our we have something from one of the Troublemakers that has been a long time coming, but we needed all 4 people here to see it, as well as all the people in the chat. So without any further ado,
I hate everyone, but man, oh man, you're my best friend. I'll scream it through the nothingness. There ain't nothing that I need. World hard and heavy pumpkin pie, chocolate candy, Jesus Christ. Ain't nothing please me more than you. Home, let me come home, 'cause home is wherever I'm with you.
That was so cute. Oh my god.
also Devesha, I remembered about halfway through that to screen record it, so to get her reaction, so I'll send that to you. You're muted, babe. You're muted.
Thank you, because I was like, oh my God, we're not on the communal stream yet. I can't see her face.
I didn't get the initial, but I think of 5 seconds into it, I screen recorded, so I'll send that to you. It was very cute. She was reacting very well. Yes, Devesha has finally done the Katie fan cam after Katie did all 3 of us, and she showed it to me last night, and I almost started crying. I thought it was so sweet. Hello, everybody. Hi, Danny. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Marta. Hi, Jess. Hi, Caitlin. Everybody's just out here having a good time. Yes, it was a wrench party right at the start. Hi, Sasha. How are you doing? If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge ball. Guess what movie?
Dodgeball.
There you go. At least I
Is it
think.
bright?
I assume. I've never
is.
seen it.
You've never seen Dodgeball?
I've never seen Dodgeball.
Okay, we're even though because I've never seen Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, fair enough. But to be fair, I'm not the one who worked in a movie store and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm such a film buff," So,
Okay, I haven't seen every movie they've ever made in their whole life.
It's not some random fucking.
And that's on
movie.
you,
It's Dance
Catherine,
of the
really.
Lambs. Devesha's out.
But did I see Midnight Sun with Bella Thorne? Yes.
Amazing. Okay. I said we're waiting on someone, place your bets. I meant to say we're waiting on someone, place your bets. It was not me. It was not Stig.
Although me and Devesha got dragged in those comments. Like, what
It
are
was
people
not
doing?
Devesha. It was Katie. It was Katie. Oof, maybe not Katie. So I'll go back to my original guess. Boss. Nope.
It was in fact me. I snuck you guys out. I fooled you guys because I posted in the chat.
So Marta was trying out here to do some like logical reasoning, but the thing is that at this point, all of our personalities have blended together. So I feel like it's really hard to differentiate between us. Also, I'm assuming I'm just in my head, Grape left because she heard a huge explosion because her coffee pot.
No, she was going to get her headphones and the coffee pot. She's going to save the coffee pot.
Is that in the comments, like 30 comments below?
Here's the thing. Because we're not in the communal one anymore, we can't help you manage comments.
But here's the thing, guys. The reason we're not in communal troublemakers anymore is because on my Wallissimo
Because Wallace
account,
has controlling issues. That's right.
No, it's because of Wallissimo, I purchased StreamYard Pro. And so now we have all these extra features if we're in StreamYard Pro. Although
Nice.
it is nice to not have the little duck overlay, I will say. That is very nice.
Chaos Queens are about to come for you. They love that.
Oh, are they? Well, they can
Portal.
have it. They can have it. I'm not going to fight them on it. All right. That intro is so pretty, but also the fun song for the normal intro has been stuck in my head all morning, and now my brain is confused. Wallace is home. Wallace is not in Florida anymore, and hopefully my internet and my voice are okay. Yes, I got a new microphone specifically for my Sim streams. She's a gamer. It's happening. The cryptid kitty pig makes me think of poop. Yep, that's fair. Loving the intro. Sasha says it's so professional. Talk show host Wallace has emerged, as she typically does around Sprints and Shop Talk. All right, hold on. I want to... Don't touch it with anything metal, Grape. Oops. Hope she saw that before she left. Chordal words were dumb AF. Okay, good to know. Hi, Elaine. Welcome to Sprints and Shop Talk. I promise we will get to the Shop Talk and maybe a sprint. We'll see. The way Grape said it's a coffee pot just flashed me back to high school when my school put on a production of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I don't know that play, so I don't get that reference, but I apologize or congratulations on the flashback.
So weird, because I literally read an article the other day hearing about that play for the first time.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So you know how, what's that word for things where you hear something and then you see it more frequent in the world? There's a phrase for that. I forget what it is, but that was... Ooh.
All right, Devasia, here are all the positive reactions to your amazing job. Everybody is loving it. That was beautiful. It was adorable. It really was. Katie, no, what? That was fantastic. Hi, Michael. That was amazing. I'm going to cry. And then Devasia was like, okay, things are getting emotional here. I'm leaving. Goodbye. But the duck is the mascot, Wallace. How dare maybe it's your mascot. Maybe it's your mascot. Hashtag not my mascot.
Our mascot's Tom Tom.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I should make a little Tom Tom overlay for the top corner. That top corner.
Cute.
That could be cute. Hi, Laura. Good morning. How are you doing today? Crystal says, I mean, really, we stole the duck and turned it into the Quacken, which is the StreamYard duck's true form. I mean, that's true. Hello.
Hey.
The stream is complete because Nicki Minaj, otherwise known as Gays Everywhere, is here. Obsessed. Hello.
And I'm glad you're here because you've just subscribed to us like 3 days ago.
Katie, I told you. No, I'm putting my foot down. Girl, I would like everybody to know that I told Katie not to call gays out in front of everybody, that light private teasing would be fine. Like a personal DM would be fine. I said, do not do it in front of everybody because we don't know what people's social anxiety levels are like. That was rude.
It wasn't.
Disobeying the momager. No, I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, you're not my real mom. Hashtag not my mom.
I'm not your fake mom either. But I'm feeling very Mufasa in this moment. You deliberately disobeyed me.
Those rocks look so cool.
All right. Hold on. I always thought a good mascot would be a polar bear. I think Coke would agree with you, which is why they do that every Christmas. Well, this is all talking about that play, and I just don't have mental energy about that right now. What are some exciting StreamYard premium features? You know, that's a really good question. As I was saying it, Here, StreamYard is great if you're doing it for free. So many of their features are awesome. But here's one. And I should make one specifically for Spencer Shoptalk. But look at this background. What color do we want to be, guys? Do we want to be like a blue? Do we want to
Maybe a spring green?
Hooker green?
Or
Hooker green. I love her.
Look at this.
Oh, look at her.
That's kind of nice. Oh, except we're on my sorry, hold on. Let me go. Oh, I see. Give me a second. Here we go. That way it matches. Okay. Ooh, I'm hearing myself. Sorry. Gaze apologizes.
It's okay. I was just teasing. You can unsubscribe if you want.
All right. I am hearing my echo.
I'm also hearing your echo.
Also hearing your echo.
Is it me, Jesus? Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. It's not me.
Is it me?
Hello,
Jesus?
hello, 1, 2, 3. It's not Stig.
Oh my gosh, is it
Hello.
me?
Hello, 1, 2, 3. It's not Grape.
Which means
Hello, 1, 2, 3. It's not Katie.
which means it's Wallace.
No, because it's not me. I can't hear myself anymore.
Oh,
It's all of us combined.
It's all of us combined.
I thought I don't know. It's really weird because I've also been able to hear myself at certain points when we've been talking here. So I was like, I don't.
Interesting.
It's weird. I don't know. StreamYard's doing funky things since we started talking more on Discord. It's like I'm.
Oh, that is true. Okay, but first things first. Even though this stream is on my StreamYard account, you guys can still do polls in the the YouTube chat, right?
Yes, since it's you're streaming to the Troublemaker channel. And yes.
Right. Okay. So can one of you guys just gear up because we're gonna get. Normally we do a sprint first and then we get into our first sprint and shop talk question, but I am going to do things a little differently this time. Because the first question about story structure that we're going to be talking about today is, I'm going to the hair salon later. Should I get that? I want to put it up for a poll because I'm like really leaning towards yes, and I have been for months and months. And I would just like to say that this is something I've been really thinking about for months. Okay,
Tell me
real talk, real cringe talk here. I've been really. What? Sorry. What? Sorry.
Tell me you're a Kate Kavanaugh stan.
No,
that's
the thing. And he's saying that because this has been my worry. Because the Troublemakers have known I wanted to get bangs for a really long time. But then right around the time I was about to go to a hair appointment, then Kate Kavanaugh got her amazing bangs. And I was like, I can't get bangs now because everybody knows I'm a Kate Kavanaugh stan. And if I get bangs right after she got bangs, that's going to be really awkward. But I feel like it's been an appropriate amount of time now. And here's the thing. I had a bang phase when I was a kid. Like, I've already had bangs, and I kind of miss them. Like, I mean, I know this is not anything new or revolutionary, but I'm thinking about going for a Dakota Johnson, like shaggy, get longer as they get towards the edge of the face kind of look.
That's why there was a picture of her yesterday
Yeah.
in the chat.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was.
Grape and I were hanging out. Grape and I were hanging out, and I sent that to her as like, this is my inspo. Also, I can't check the. Let me go into YouTube to see what the thoughts are. But yeah, I've already have Devacious thoughts. Stig and Katie, do you guys have? Here, let me. I was doing this in my bathroom this morning. Prepare yourselves.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to show them the pictures from the Face app.
Oh no, not those.
Also, Katie, I like how we both put up a poll at the same time.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
Oh, we did?
Yes.
Oh. Wait, did we have both polls up? Or is it just yours that went through?
I don't know. I saw yours first.
Devacia, with your permission, may I show the pictures?
Oh my god, yes. It's so funny. Please do.
Did you put that in Discord or in did you private message me? I think you private messaged
Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this is sad because I would have loved to woken up this morning and see them in the Discord. Oh my god, wait, that's hysterical. Oh my god. It's giving America's Next Top Model makeover pre-pictures. Oh my god. Wait. Oh my god.
I thought I looked like a Russian spy in this picture specifically.
Yeah, you're giving.
I said she looked like a retired emo.
Also
You look like Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
Oh man.
With the
You're
dark
not gonna
hair.
have dark hair. Yeah, you're not gonna have dark hair, right?
No, I'm not going dark. I'm actually hoping to go icy today. Quite icy, but we'll see. Here's my thing though, but then I'd have to wait, and I have a hair appointment today. I have a hair appointment in like 4 hours. And I kind of just want to do it, you know?
Just do it. It's hair. It grows
Do it,
out again
girl.
if you
I
don't
know,
like
right?
it.
Okay, what are the results of the poll? I can't see the poll. Is it mostly no's?
I'm sad my poll didn't.
It's
go through.
an overwhelming yes! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
Is it really?
It is
69% yes.
Don't do it.
Really?
But Violet's word has a little bit of weight to it, I have to say. Oh, but Caitlin's word has weight to it. Oh, but Mollen's word also has weight to it. Also, Wallace, you can add Katie as an admin to your StreamYard account with a paid account. That's interesting.
I get a StreamYard wrench.
Why did you say specifically Katie? Why not Stig or
Right?
Devasia?
Because we know Katie's your favorite. It's okay.
It's because I'm the
We have
social
come to
media
terms with
manager.
this.
I'm the manager. I'm the momager's manager.
Also,
You're the
love
Kim
how-
Kardashian to our Chloe and what's her other face? Courtney.
Sorry, I read that as amnesia.
Amnesia smiley
like-
face.
I was like, oh, I feel really bad for making fun of you for forgetting to subscribe to us.
oh man. Oh man. All right. So we had a lot of I don't want to do curtain bangs. I think they're called bottleneck bangs. I don't like the split in the middle. I like it where it tapers off and then, gets blunt and then tapers in the framing. That's what I'm thinking. I think I'm gonna do it. Okay, so
do it.
You can
Let's
end
just
the
have, like, a
poll
wolf
if you
pack.
haven't already.
Can end the stream
Yeah.
if you haven't already.
See, this is the thing, is that everybody accused me of being a Kate Kavanaugh stan, but really I'm just an Aang stan. And Aang doesn't realize this, but I do have a security camera set up outside of their house. And so I was aware that you got Dakota Johnson bangs a week ago. And this is why this discussion is happening today.
But wait,
Yeah.
dark-haired Wallace looks like Aang. Oh, I'm echoing.
Are you? Interesting. Life is short. Get the bangs. Why does the poll only add up to 99%? It's a good question. But see, this is the question, right? Is that will it actually make me happy or will I walk out of the place sobbing? Anyway, thank you everybody for your input. Steve, can you read
What
off
can I
the
say?
percentages?
Do them yourself.
No.
Go full unhinged.
Yeah, just
Just
on
live a
stream.
little.
Right now.
On stream right now.
Right now.
Just curtain bangs now.
Everything is
Yeah.
And then you can just get them trimmed at the hairdresser.
Truly.
Interesting. Why do you look like me with dark hair? That's interesting. The first pick gave me serious Caroline from the Vampire Diaries. Oh my god, huge compliment because that actress is gorgeous. Thank you. Marta says, I mean, the Kate Kavanaugh stan thing was the first thing that popped in my head when you said bangs, but then again, I knew it. I knew it would be. But then again, I'd never heard the word bangs before Kate did hers, so probably biased. Whoa.
Wow.
You never heard of a bang before? That's so
They
interesting.
call it fringe.
Oh, of course.
That makes sense.
Spoiler alert, it will not make me happy. Oh, man. I know. That's always Here's the thing, though. I'm not in any sort of mental crisis as far as I know. Like, I feel
Aren't
like
you in a perpetual state of mental crisis?
Well, yeah,
By
but
your own admission.
Isn't your
Nothing more
Discord
extreme
thing
than normal.
constant crisis?
Yeah, but nothing more extreme than normal. And it's always my personal belief to never try and change your hair when you're like in a state of extreme agitation. But yeah, I agree. Hair goes back. Okay.
Yeah. And if you've never tried it, then you never know. Do you want to go your entire life wondering, I wonder what it looks like with bangs?
Well, and here's my rationale, right? I mean, really the perfect time to get bangs would have been 2 years ago, right at the start of the pandemic. But I feel like I'm still in a good spot because it's not like I have some cousins who are getting married next year, right? So if I get them now, theoretically the bangs will have grown out enough, especially if they're shaggy. They'll have grown out enough by the weddings. I obviously don't have someone in my life to potentially have a wedding or any like big event where I'm gonna have lots of author photos though. That is do I want bangs for an author? I have not sold my book though, not to give anybody excitement or anything like that. But yeah, okay, well anyway, sorry, we've been talking about this for 20 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Stig, I've asked you multiple times, but I've never been able to finish the sentence. What were the final results of the poll?
Bangs won. The
By how
poll is
much?
gone.
The poll's gone.
No, Bangs won. Bangs had 70%
70%.
yes.
And then
30%
Ho, don't do it, 29%.
How many people voted?
17.
Wow, you guys, that's almost overwhelming. Not quite, but okay.
It's quite
Good to know.
overwhelming.
It's
to me.
almost overwhelming.
Almost overwhelming. I'm just about whelmed, you guys. So close.
Well, 21 watching and only 17 votes. What's that about, people?
Some people are like, I don't give a fuck. Okay, let me pull up a sprint. How long sprints are we thinking today? What's everybody's vibe?
That's funny, Marta.
It's true.
Well, yeah. Did you ask a question?
How long of a sprint do people want?
Why don't you do a random and the timer thing?
Yeah,
25.
25. Okay. You guys talk while I find a timer. I should have done this before the stream started. Sorry.
What are y'all working on today? What are we doing?
I'm going to be alternating sprinting and writing.
What are you sprinting?
Reading?
I'm
You're
confused.
gonna alternate sprinting and writing. So you're gonna go for a walk? You're gonna go for a sprint? Just a jog? That's the shop.
Yeah.
What are you
See
reading?
what I said?
What are you reading?
Oh, the Copper Promise, as always.
How far are you? What chapter are you on?
I'm on chapter like 5 or something.
Oh, okay. We have a long way to go before I can send you my funny joke. I'll probably
Okay, don't forget it.
Just
like
got
you
the
did
book
with the,
like 3 days ago.
What?
Didn't you just get the book like 3 days ago?
Yeah, but I read fast.
I don't read, so
I know. I'm good. I'm gonna forget the joke by the time you get to the point where I can tell you the joke.
Oh, did it start?
have you sent me the reel you were going to send when I finished Crooked Kingdom?
Oh my god, I didn't. I could do that for the sprint.
All right,
That's going
guys.
to take about 25 minutes, I suppose.
Probably. I should find where it is on my phone.
Is everybody ready to go? We're starting
Aye,
off
aye,
with
Captain.
fabulous Marta Dino.
Dino.
It is so
Happy
cute.
sprinting, everybody. And don't forget to do a scary task this morning in lieu of scary hour. Woohoo! Excuse me. Woohoo! The dinosaurs found each other, but did you find your productivity? Cancel. Stop sharing. How did that sprint go, everybody? Stig?
I read 3 pages and then I was on Reels, waiting for Catherine to send me the reel that she never sent me.
It's on my iPad, and my iPad is dead.
R.I.P. that bitch.
R.I.P.
Devasia.
I was doing my scary test. I called the post office. They hung up on me, and now I'm on hold with the bank.
How dare they hang up on you?
Rude.
Absolutely rude.
Are they like legally allowed to do that?
I don't know. It's the post
Yeah,
office, probably.
That feels illegal. You should call the government.
She did
We
when she
are the
called the post
government.
office. Catherine, how'd you do?
Did pretty good. I made my bed and got Belle, so she's now sacked out like a lump of potatoes on it, and then was responding to some comments.
Look, just like potatoes.
Potatoes.
And let's see, what did I do? I got through 10 pages of listening to something voice to text, looking for errors. And that's basically what I did. It is so funny the way voice to text pronounces and enunciates certain things. Like I have the word honky tonk a couple of times, and the voice to text guy goes, honky tonk. I don't know why it's so funny. Let's see. Marta finished up work and tidying, got crochet stuff out. Lexi arrived. Okay, Miranda, let's shop some talk. Elaine watered some plants and edited 5 pages. Okay, here we go. Actual question number 1. Now that we have figured out the big.
Wait, your hair wasn't the main question?
That's the main event.
Actual structure discussion. Here we go.
Banks is a sort of structure.
It's you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. What is your favorite kind of story structure? A, to write, and B, to read. Stig, we're starting with you. And also, I would like to say that they did have these questions early. So,
I would also like to say that you did agree to send them.
I did.
Writing. I never got them.
You didn't send them to Stig. You only sent them to me and Devasia over text.
You were there when I read them aloud, though. So
he has ADHD, so the fact you expect him to remember is astounding.
Fine, Katie.
It's ableist.
There we go. So you got some time to think about it. What is this nonsense? What are you talking about?
Yeah, we went over them.
I went over them.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. She clicked on Elaine's, Martha's. Oh, you did miss Danny's.
Okay, you know what? You know what, Danny? I'm gonna ignore you from now on for calling me out like this, man. It stresses me out. I'm just kidding.
Danny read half a volume of Demon Slayer.
Oh, nice. Okay. Catherine.
It is always funny how you managed to skip Danny's for some reason.
Don't do it on purpose, I swear. And I am trying to just be a little bit more staying on task. What?
Oh, let's comment.
That is a fabulous question. Katie, as our resident bachelor, as a resident bachelor's degree, would you like to give a distinct definition of what I mean by structure?
Good. I could. Do you mean structure as in like the 3-act structure or like?
Yeah, like the way a story is structured.
Okay, so I mean, just in general, I would describe structure as like the way that a story is put together in order to connect everything together. It's basically the outer infrastructure that ensures that all of the pieces connect together in a satisfying way. So like making sure your plot flows evenly and that it, everything basically circle jerks back to itself. Secretly, we're all great at structure because we all circle jerk back to things. So yeah, structure is, there's a lot of different types of structure. There's a lot of different ways to do structure.
Well, why don't we go through and give our favorite examples, and then maybe that will give people the idea of what they want to say.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what my answer was because I did think of an answer, but so my favorite kind of basically. Okay, so here's my non-answer. That's not going to be very helpful to anyone. But when I write structure, I don't actually format my structure into the book. I think I've read enough, studied enough, and written enough shit structure books to essentially kind of have an internalized understanding of when I'm working on a plot, I kind of know where the pieces should fall and how, you know, the beats of a story should ebb and flow in order to create something that's theoretically satisfying. Who knows if I actually do that? So in my head, I'm not super structured, ironically, with how I structure things, but I think I tend to understand the ways that things should fit together in order to create them, you know, in a satisfying way. Does that make sense?
First of all, I love the hubris. I truly love it. Chef's kiss. Second of all, I want to clip that. I want to clip this video of you saying all that and send it to you in 20 years. This could be our second 30-year bet. And send it to you in 20 years and see if you agree with your younger self that at this age you knew. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying, like, I'm always of the opinion that we always think we know stuff, and then we get embarrassed by how hubristic we were.
Well, that's what I think is funny though, because none of like structure doesn't happen in a single draft. Like you can have an idea of how a story is structured, and then as you change and move and play with your story, the structure will flex and should be able to flex with what you're doing. I think if you have too much of a rigid structure to begin with, it could end up putting you in a box that you then don't know how to get out of. I think when it comes to drafting, because obviously we're writers here, we're talking about like the drafting multiple drafts process, and like there may be some holes in my structures and we might be missing some key load-bearing walls in the first draft.
That's so interesting. I feel like that is something that can happen when you try and pants, is that you get 70%, what you think is 70% of the way into your word count, and you realize you haven't even set up like an emotional arc for one of your B plots or something, and then it all feels quite rushed at the end. So
but I think that can happen even if you do, like, I'm not saying don't outline. I think there's a difference between story structure and outline, because I think you can outline where you want things to fall, but I don't know, having a very strict like 3-act structure in where you have very specific things that have to happen at specific times, like Save the Cat. Granted, I'm probably not the best person to talk about Save the Cat because I haven't read it.
Fair enough.
But from what I have heard, specific things go at specific places, and while people are like, oh yeah, but you don't have to follow that, I feel like newer writers, and this is getting off into a tangent about me not disliking craft books, so I'm going to try to stay off of that. But I think with newer writers, following things to a T can sometimes, depending on the writer, specifically if you're a pantser, a young writer pantser, as I once was, it can stifle the creativity that comes with writing a story. But I mean, in the same hand, looking at some of what Anna has said, structure can help you finish a book. And honestly, finishing a book is the best way to learn how to structure a book, because then you get to revise.
Right. Katie, I'm going to keep you a little bit on task here because you've already answered question number 2, but I'm going to
Did I?
Yeah, that's fine. It's so good. I'm going to redirect you to, if you could, then if you don't know what your favorite kind of structure is to write because you're not really, like, you're not consciously intentional about it, what is your favorite kind of structure or story archetype to read?
Interestingly, for me personally, I like to read non-linearly structured books.
What's an example of that?
You're going to take my answer for the last question?
Well, but do you think that, I mean, non-linear is a kind of structure. So when the last question though is about like when you're expecting one thing and you get it a different way. So do you want to reserve that for that question?
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing: the example that I'm thinking of is told in a nonlinear way, and it also subverts
Okay.
nonfiction structure tropes.
Okay, interesting. Okay, then you can hold on to it then. Can you come up with a different nonlinear example? I feel like Memento is kind of one of the classic ones. You haven't seen Memento? Oh my gosh. I think you'd like it. Recommending. Well, let's go into, if you can think of something, let me know. That
Okay,
doesn't
thinking.
steal one of your questions for later, or answers for later. I'm going to go to the comments a little bit and then Grape will come back to you. Let's see. Miranda says, this might just be me, but I enjoy stories more that I know more about. Wait, what? I enjoy stories more that I know more about structure. Like my brain gets a little hint of dopamine when I'm reading and I'm like, ooh, midpoint turn, here we go. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that that's why there are some structures that have really become like kings within literature, right? I mean, I think it was Caitlin was saying that she hates Hero's Journey, but I definitely think that there's a reason why Hero's Journey is so prevalent. I don't know. Katie, do you have thoughts on Hero's Journey specifically?
Hero's Journey is interesting. I think it's, I think a lot of it's just very classic. It's an easy way to write a story because it's, but I think with everything, once you start using it a lot and once it's popularized, then people start calling it boring. And like, it depends on the day, and depends on the story that you're trying to convey. And I don't know, Hero's Journey can be. I like Hero's Journey. I do. It's not my favorite thing in the entire world when it's very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there's ways that it can. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is Hero's Journey to a T. So if it's done well, that's another thing about structure is if you can see it. For me personally, if I can see the structure and like they're following beat by beat and it's so predictable that I can understand it, I sometimes get bored. But that doesn't mean that subversion is always a good thing. Subversion needs to be done well in order for it to work. Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't agree with this little interchange. The idea that me saying there are different types of structure is an alternate form of reality. I think there are lots of books that are not structured the same way. Yeah, you've got nonlinear. You have some books are in 5 acts rather than 3.
Some books are in 2 acts.
Yeah. Lexi says, all my professors were like, forget the rules. Writing comes from the heart. And that has its place for sure. But my heart is very unstructured. True.
I hate that sentiment, though. I understand this. I like the sentiment behind the I hate, or the writing doesn't have structure. Writing comes from the heart thing. I like the sentiment, but in the end, when you're learning how to actually be a successful writer, I think it's like, if you're going to be writing and you want to be a writer, like, no shit, your writing comes from the heart. If you're not writing from the heart, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
this is interesting. Anna is claiming that learning structure has been the difference in actually finishing a book. Please elaborate. I think that is so interesting. Katie just doing her best after you called her out without her hand raised. That's the joy of Sprints and Shoptalk, as I get to torture them.
Sure.
We have some compliments for our beautiful Devesha.
Grapple.
Thank you.
Mom says, I kind of agree, Katie. I think it's just some people are intuitive and then fix structural issues afterwards, while others will research it first and then start with the structure. No? Yeah. Man, question 2 is just out the window, but that's fine. We can focus on the back half of question 2, which is what
circle jerk back to question 2.
we can circle jerk back to question 2. So far, all I've been able to think of is bridges. Books have bridges, songs have bridges. Bridges are part of story structure. Lots of pantsers use story structure to guide them too, like, oh, time for X beat, let's cause some chaos. Yeah.
That's true.
That's interesting. It is interesting though to like just write a story off the cuff and then go back and look and see how it aligns to a certain structure and that kind of inherent storytelling ability, or like understanding of a story that we have in our heads. Because that's been kind of fun. Before I learned about structure, I had a couple stories and then I was like, oh, and then you beat them out and you're like, wow, I kind of weirdly followed that. Not to T though. Definitely needed work, definitely needed editing. Devisha, it's your turn. You're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you. That's what I said. I am. Oh, I'm muted. I am one of those people who doesn't think about the structure when they read. So for that part of the, that's funny.
That is funny.
That part of the question, I don't really have an answer. And also, like as soon as I finish a book, all thoughts leave my brain, and I know nothing about it. But I think my favorite kind of structure, I wouldn't say favorite, but what I do the most is 4-act.
Interesting. And how do you like determine at what point an act begins and ends? How do you determine that transition moment?
Vibes. Location
Like,
changes.
Do you set up
Emotional
things?
changes.
Emotional changes?
Yeah.
Interesting. And you think you have roughly like 4 of those per story?
Yeah. It's a combination of like either like large location change or like large emotional change.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, sure. Have you ever done it where like you've written your story and then you go back and look at a defined structure and see if it fit any defined structure or not?
No, I have not.
Hashtag video idea. I think that would be fun if everybody made videos like looking at the first story I ever wrote and seeing what literary structure it fits into. And you guys are welcome to take that for free. Not a tag video, but like, I tag you all. And then my next question though for the reading aspect, and this is like kind of blending a little bit into genre distinction, but is there like a type of structure of payoff that you really enjoy whenever you read? Like a setup of a mystery or a setup of an emotional like arc?
I don't know. I don't think so, because even when things are done badly in books, I can still enjoy them. Like, I'm just reading for the fun of reading, you know? I can enjoy a bad book through and through.
But you haven't noticed in your reading habits like one specific type of story that you're just like, oh, this butters my bread. No.
I haven't noticed. It's not something I think about like when I'm reading, so.
Laura says, my favorite kind of stories are flash I have a speech impediment, I think. Flash short stories. Cut the fluff and make everything pertain to the plot. Usually one main plot makes you start close to the action or only write a detailed finale. Anna loves books that alternate timelines in the past and then present. Miranda, I'm going to get to this question, but I've started. I just don't want you to think I'm skipping it because I love it as a general follow-up question. Danny says, I hate nonlinear structure. Autism brain needs order, so except for rare exceptions, I very much prefer linear. Caitlin, I don't like sorry, great.
I'm with Danny there.
Oh yeah. Do you want to answer instead of your favorite type of story structure? Do you want to say what your least favorite? Yeah. Do you want to say what your least favorite is? The one that you might have a gripe with?
It's not a gripe. It's not a gripe.
Well, but anyway.
Ugh.
Of course, the comment was covering it. Sorry. Yeah. Do you have a least favorite kind of story structure?
Definitely non-linear things.
Why? Why don't you like it?
I feel like I would like them in theory, but oftentimes not in practice. Sometimes they just confuse me.
I
Yeah.
think in
I'm smart, but I'm
instances like,
stupid.
sorry.
I said, yeah, I'm smart, but I'm stupid.
No, I mean, I
I'm
think
gay, but I'm straight.
That's not food, baby.
I think I can handle it when it's clearly defined. I think, the big joke about season 1 of The Witcher, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched The Witcher, is that it took a lot of people a couple of episodes to figure out that we were in 2 different timelines. And I think that, when you're like in a fantasy world, obviously if it's like a historical, like generational story, that's not going to be a problem if it takes place in our reality. But if you're in a historical world, you don't know the differences between technological capabilities. It's not easy to tell that certain events are taking place 50 years after each other.
Mhm.
That's really confusing because they're referring to a war that's about to happen, and then in the next scene, a war that has already occurred, and it's the same freaking war.
Mhm.
So
That's
yeah,
an instance where I think non-linear has been done incorrectly, but it's
Okay.
not the story structure itself. It's the way that they filmed it and the way that it was dialogue written. Because I didn't pick up on the multiple timelines until I was watching with subtitles, and I could catch the places where they were talking about instances, and I could reconnect because I'm very visual. And because it's a TV show, they could have done some things with the way that it was filmed, or like the lighting and the color, to distinguish between the timelines in a subtle way without outright calling it. So it's not a story structure problem. I think they structurally did the timeline melding and weaving very well. But
Interesting.
that's on the production and the direction and the filming of the thing itself.
Very interesting.
Also, I don't know what structure Inception was, but I did not like that.
Oh,
That's my example of what I love their structure. But
interesting.
another Christopher Nolan film I hated that had a somewhat non-linear one is Tenet.
Oh,
Tenet was done terribly.
so bad. Tenet was done.
God
so
awful.
Yeah.
God awful. I can't believe that came out of Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, that movie was so bad.
It was bad. No, don't watch it if you don't like non-linear things.
Yes, this is correct. Addie LaRue is nonlinear. Ooh, that is such a good answer. I like circular endings, or at least I'm usually impressed by them. That is such a good answer. More now that I know more. Miranda, I'm sorry. Okay.
She likes stories better now that she knows more about structure.
Got it. That took me 11 minutes to circle back to. I apologize. I'm going to answer a couple more comments and then we'll get to you, Stig. Crystal says, I feel like structure is more of a mechanics thing, which I have a hard time grasping. I just throw things in a pot and hope for the best. Somehow it works. How did I turn this to food? I'm hungry. That is always a good requirement, and yet not always guaranteed. So,
or sometimes if you're Jeff Bezos, you can just pay to take it down.
I feel like this is referencing something I don't know about. So, what?
It's very off topic. You can just Google it later.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Gay says, I think I like stories where there are multiple perspectives, multiple perspectives of the same event are so sexy and underrated. Also, heroine's journey, chef's kiss. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about multiple perspectives of the same event.
We know you hate them. Just in
Well,
general, you hate multi-POV.
Well, but like, okay, yeah, that's fair. But
I was about to be like, do not try to gaslight me.
No, but I meant yes, with what you're saying, but specifically outside of the context that I just don't like multi-POV, specifically multi-POV of the same thing we've already seen, I especially think I don't like that.
I'm with you there.
Because then you've made me switch perspectives and you're just telling me the same stuff over again. And I get that it can be used as like a way of like giving twists and stuff, but I just find it not engaging storytelling. There was this movie I saw forever ago that was like about a bombing in like at a state capitol or something, and the movie was told from I think 6 different perspectives, and you had to see the bombing happening 6 different times, and I was like, I hate this. Thank you.
That feels like emotional manipulation.
But Danny disagrees with me. Multiple POVs for the same event is absolutely amazing. And you know what? We're each entitled to our own incorrect opinions. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's amazing if it's done like the same event, like large event, but like each point of view has different little events that they're focusing on.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think the way I would be okay with it is if like the story begins with the event, okay, from one person's POV. And then, sorry, Danny, we do a non-linear kind of thing where we jump back it to leading up to the event and we're like switching between POVs of whatever characters. And then the story can end with that same event from a different person's POV that fully explains everything that happened and like gives you all those final twists. I can get with that.
Or I like the trope of like, I know it's in Six of Crows if you've read that, but essentially there's a scene where you have like an entire, like I loved big casts, and there's like the big cast of them, and they're all pulling off like a heist. So they're all in very separate sections of this larger place, and all of them are circling. And like, so one character will be in like this ballroom and she's like moving around, and then there's like an explosion and she's like, she knows exactly what it is. And then you flip to the people who are doing the explosion and such, and you're moving in the parts. They're not necessarily together, but they're in the same area together, interconnected in a way that's with all of them. You can see every aspect of the plan that's unfolding.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh my gosh, I just came up with an answer for the last question, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Okay, Stig. Here you go. It's your time to shine, baby.
My favorite structure is the 4-act structure.
The 4-act structure. What is I know the 3-act structure. I don't know the 4-act structure. Will you educate me on the 4-act structure? How does it work?
The 4-act structure is basically 3-act structure, but Act 2 is just split in half. So you have like your beginning, and then your basically everything from the Act 2 to the midpoint, and then everything from the midpoint to Act 3, and then Act 3. That makes sense. So you kind of got like Act 1, Act 2A, Act 2B, and Act 3.
And why do you like that structure? Do you know why, or is it just kind of what you gear towards?
Like Grape, I also consider like emotional changes to be kind of an act change.
Okay.
So what I often do in my planning, I've never finished the book, so this is all theoretical. But what I do in the planning is that I'll do like, so the first act ends with like a location change usually, and then the midpoint is an emotional change, and then Act 3 is an external change again. So you kind of differentiate between those changes, and that kind of defines the acts within my book. And I'm also just a sucker for parts in general.
Symmetry.
What is your favorite? Is that like how you are when you read as well? Do you like stories in 4 acts?
Yeah, I like that because usually, at least in fact, I can hear echo. Hello.
Hello.
You mean Jesus?
Hello.
Hello.
No, it's not you.
Well, I turned my volume down.
But yeah, what we're talking about?
Your favorite to read?
My favorite to read. I do like. Well, I read a lot of. I don't read a lot of fantasy, but when I do read, it is fantasy. Which kind of always has the like hero's journey kind of deal, which I don't mind. I don't hate it as much as people do. But as Miranda, as I've learned more about storytelling, I can like, whenever there's a party in a fantasy novel, I'm like, ooh, we're halfway, because there's always a party at the halfway point in fantasy novels. And I kind of like, I see the road signs as I read along, and I like that. But it's also made it very evident when I don't like a story. I'm like, this is shit. This is made by a 2-year-old. So it's both a gift and a curse. I recognize when a story is very well put together, but I also recognize when I don't like a story. And it's like, especially with dialogue, I'm like, who wrote this? This could have needed another round in the editing room.
Can you give an example of a story you've read recently where you felt that way?
Wheel of Time. I haven't read it. I'm currently listening to it, but I've watched the series, and it's very much a hero's journey fantasy novel. But some of the dialogue it is like I read along and then I'll think of the line and then I'll read the line, so I can kind of predict what the characters are going to say. And when I can predict something, it can you use another round?
I don't know if that's true. Maybe you just have that
I do
literary
not have
brain.
it going well. It is. This is just very predictable plot.
Okay.
So especially the show, that was some of the moments there was not earned and was very like rushed. It felt like writing wise, and I think Game of Thrones later seasons also suffered from a lot of that, because especially the first seasons had very clever dialogue from books, I presume, but some of the latter seasons suffer very much of the Hollywoodization of the plot, if that makes sense. So
fantastic. Thank you. Yes, I've never deliberately, but I know about his story structure because I love Community, and it is one of my favorite shows of all time. And I love the structure of a lot of those episodes because they're incredibly satisfying. Some Deep Mystery says, I don't pay attention to structure. I just like these, or I think these characters are neat. If your writing doesn't come from the heart, oh my gosh, are we getting response to that comment? That was so long ago. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Miranda says, I'm with Anna. Structure is the only way I was able to finish anything. We love a 5-point finale.
Oh, we do. Shout out Jessica Brody. That changed my life.
yeah.
Caitlin
I think knowing
said-
a much story structure before you write a book is very helpful. And also find it really interesting that Devesha and Katie says, oh, we don't write about structure, but like, don't you all have a beginning, a midpoint, and an end? That is like the most basic story structure.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
So you do write with structure.
I didn't say
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, but also, I don't know. I think there's levels of structure, you know? Like, I'm not super intense on like forming out every single beat and making sure I have a fun and game section, like, you know, like making sure that I have this specific thing happen at 75% of the way through the book. I write down events that I want to happen and then flow them together and jigsaw them together.
Do you not write from start to finish? Like, don't you have the beginning of the event and then the middle of the event? So that is the structure.
Well,
so you do
I have the beginning and the end. I usually don't have the middle. Or I have the beginning and the middle and don't have the end. Or I have, usually.
Well, it sounds
usually
like
don't
you're
have the middle.
consciously writing with structure anyway, to me. So.
Yeah, and I don't think I ever said I didn't write with structure.
You said you didn't think about structure when you were writing.
Yeah, I don't think about it. I'm not thinking, oh, this is the midpoint.
Read.
I'm
sorry, I'm stuck on the fact that he said Devesha with Katie.
Because you said you also didn't think about structure when you wrote.
No, I said I don't think about it when I read.
Okay, then that's on me.
And I said I don't know if I have a favorite kind, but the one I rely most on is 4-act. Yeah, listen when I speak, babe.
Some Deep Mystery says, with writing, I have kind of a 9-point structure. Ooh, I use, but reading, I don't think about structure at all. Danny says, not to be that bitch, but I do love literary alchemy. It's something that just happens in my writing usually, and then I fine tune it and edit both for story structure and character stuff. Hey Siri, what is literary alchemy? Oh shit, she actually answered me. Oh, and now she's me neither. Me neither, babe.
What'd she say?
She said, I don't know how to respond to that. What is literary alchemy?
Like the parts of writing, maybe? Because that's like, isn't alchemy just taking parts of something to make gold?
No, but this is what I'm wondering. Is it saying like taking one thing and turning it to another? I would love a specific definition.
So apparently, according to Google, commonly literary alchemy refers to a writer's deliberate use of the alchemical subject matter, terminology, and processes as a useful organizing principle for his or her text, especially when writing about individuals undergoing trials and changes as they mature.
This is so interesting.
So it sounds like Danny's like literally putting alchemy. I don't know why I put that there, but
hello, Danny. Video idea. Welcome to Spritz and Shop Talks, where really it's just me giving everybody creative content. Danny, please make an entire video about this because I have no idea what it is, and I would love to know your perspective. Thank you. That's so interesting. And it's like magical sounding. I feel like that could be literary alchemy. That gives me next big trend vibes of like what everybody in AuthorTube is talking about. Literary alchemy. This is how I tried literary alchemy for a day.
Kate Kavanaugh's next video. I tried this literary alchemy project. Surprising question mark?
Lexi says, I've never given Dan Harmon's Story Circle a try. I've been wanting to look into it. I've been concerned that it's maybe less detailed than, I don't know who Blake Snyder is. So
He invented Save the Cat writes a novel.
there you go.
Well, he invented Save the Cat, which
the
is like the
screenplay
TV
version.
manuscript.
Oh,
version.
okay.
And then Jessica Brody developed that into Save the Cat writes a novel.
Michael is still talking about bridges. Love that for you. Danny says, as I've gotten more into manga the past year and a half, I found myself more forgiving of a story structure because the serial aspect of manga really does some funky stuff to structure. No, see, I disagree. I think stories that are serialized and just like never designed to end annoy me so much. I love stories that you can tell they knew where they were going right from the start. Because if they don't, then you get a lost. And we don't want a lost. Cad, I probably won't stay long because I'm in a lot of pain. Oh no, I'm sorry. But I wanted to stop by and say hi and remind everyone to stay to save, hydrate, posture check, do the 20-20-20 rule, etc. because you deserve self-love. Thank you, Cad. Feel better.
What's the 20-20-20 rule?
I don't know. Maybe like 20 minutes of writing, 20 minutes of sleeping, 20 minutes of standing. I don't know.
I think it's something like that. 20 minutes of
20
like
cookies.
20 minutes.
Ooh.
20 minutes of
20
writing, 20 minutes of
South African
stretching, 20 minutes of break or something. It's something
20
like that.
grams of coke.
Yeah,
I thought
definitely
it
20
was
grams.
like
Coke.
every 20 minutes that you're staring at a screen, you look away for 20 seconds or something like
You
that.
look 20 feet away for 20 seconds.
There you go.
Yes,
Okay.
that is. Yep, there we go. We got there. Thank you,
How long
Devasia.
is 20 feet?
I don't know, man.
It works for the
four of
acronym.
you. It's 4 of you. Just look 4 of you away. Caitlin says, I don't know what story structure it would be considered, but I like stories that have plot twists right at the end, like the cliffhanger, like the final scene that subverts everything that happened. Ooh, did you watch the TV show Cruel Summer? You should.
Stig, it's 20 feet is 6 meters. If that helps.
Some deep mystery. I enjoy characters first, but I do love it when the bad guy really get their comeuppance. I love when small details pay off and you can see/find them on the second read. That's always my thing. I feel like, and I don't know if this is recommended, but I feel like I write for the second read reader. You know, which I think is actually probably an issue. You should be writing for your first read reader because if you're not writing for them, then what are the odds that they're actually going to go in on a second read? But I do typically think I write for the second read reader. I think with nonlinear, there's too many plot holes and the writer just uses nonlinear timeline to cover it up. Oh, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. I think, well, it's interesting. I'd have to think on it.
I think I disagree as well because I think in order to create a successful nonlinear story, you first have to plot it linearly and then jigsaw it back together.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see someone who has written a nonlinear story, like actually talk about how they structured and plotted it out beforehand. Because I feel like that's the kind of story you can't pants. I feel like if you were trying to pants a nonlinear story, then yes, like there's going to be riddled with plot holes. But Lexi says, I'll tell you that structure is something I consider when reading manuscripts at the agency. It could be too stiff, or maybe it could be too all over the place for the story they're trying to tell, like the damn Witcher. Anna says
I think The Witcher nailed it. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
agree.
What? Sorry.
I think The Witcher nailed the story structure.
Really?
And The Witcher
I
really
not.
did like they really did film for the second viewer.
They did. That's true.
Interesting. I should go back
So-
and rewatch. Well, no, because here's the thing, though. It's like even on this. Well, anyway, you know what? I'll take your word for it. I will.
Yeah, I think the creation of the nonlinear storyline works. I just don't think their method for executing it was well on television.
I enjoyed it because it was like, what is happening? What is going on here? And
Don't
then
hide.
I am at this point 18 minutes behind the comments, guys. My apologies. To be fair, flashbacks and stuff like that doesn't bother me. It's multiple interweaving timelines that don't have a clear distinction that F's me up. That's interesting.
Okay.
I can handle nonlinear structure in movies, but not in books. Oh, that's interesting. For me, if the characters and world are interesting enough, I don't care as much about the story structure here for the escapism and vibes more than the technicalities. With Tenet, I did enjoy Robert Pattinson. Sorry, Katie is.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I have lots of thoughts about Tenet, or not about Tenet, about Robert Pattinson. We could say I have Bim Barn level thoughts about Robert Pattinson.
Worst level thoughts. But we're not going to get into it.
And I'm not going to get into it because I still regret the day that I went off about Ben Barnes, and the things I have to say about Robert Pattinson are, as Katie
They're
said.
heinous.
So that's why Katie is laughing, because I almost killed her with a string of thoughts a couple days ago about Robert Pattinson, and she literally turned purple from laughing, and I feel really bad about it.
Because I feel the same way that Caitlin does. I love Robert Pattinson, and I said that to you, and yeah.
And all of a sudden, just very unfiltered. Like, oh, you know what? He vibes of blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so that's why Katie's laughing about that. Let me know if you're going to go see the new Batman, because he's in it. And so is Zoe Kravitz. I'm going to go see it for Zoe, not for Robert. Marta says, Witcher subtitles. I watched it with subtitles both the first time and on rewatch and still didn't catch the clues until the second round. That's fair. Lynn says, I don't know my ending yet. So stressful. I often watch Rachel. Is that how you pronounce it? Rachel Stevens?
I think
Or is that
so.
Raquel? Whatever.
It's
Plot.
Rachel.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Rachel.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Plot.
No, really, thanks a lot.
I don't know if it's structure, but I love when you have multiple stories going on, and then the characters finally meet and it all culminates there. Is that a structure thing? I feel like that's a structure thing. I do love that too.
Definitely.
Interesting.
I hate when there's like a modern and like an historical timeline going on at the same time. Like Kate Moss's Labyrinth is like an archaeology book where it's like this historical timeline going on, and then there's this modern storyline, and I'm like, I don't care about this modern shit. Just take me back. So
I usually don't care about the historical shit.
then we should just have
I'm
read
starring this so I don't
the
forget.
second chapter.
Oh, see, has anyone watched The Last Duel? It goes through the same events from 3 different points of view. Then the 4th one is what actually happened. Kind of turn that on its head. Interesting.
I have a personal gripe about The Last Duel.
Ooh. Wait. First this, then. Except it's gripes with Stig.
So I've only seen the movie poster, and I decided based on the movie posters and the character art that I wasn't going to see it. And the reason is that for anyone who hasn't seen the posters, The Last Duel is a movie with is it Adam Drive and Jodie Comer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About
And
some
Matt Damon.
historical last famous duel in the world or whatever.
Because
And
someone
the
raped
character
his
art, just the men are so gritty and dirty and bloody. And then literally Jodie Comer is airbrushed to heaven and back. And I'm like, let women be ugly, please. I want to see.
Well, first of all, she's not ugly, but let women have imperfections and be
Let
realistic.
women be medieval.
Let women be
Yeah.
human.
Perfectly plucked brows, makeup, and everything is just gorgeous, and there's not a flaw in her skin. And these are real close-ups of their faces too. And both the male characters are super gritty and brooding, and I don't know. I just decided that based on those character posts, I was never going to watch that movie, even though I was very interested to watch it.
Yeah, it's yet another one of those stories that tries to I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen a lot of conversation around how it tries to be feminist and fails absolutely miserably, because it once again absolutely just puts the female character onto a pedestal where she can do no wrong, and she's this weak, innocent woman who is just constantly thrown around by men.
Have you seen it?
I haven't, but it's a lot of the criticism I've seen from multiple people about the movie, and that's what makes me not want to watch it as well.
Lexi says, you should make sure you have a fun and games. Don't worry about where it goes, but please have it. And I think we should all.
Lexi, joke's on you. All of my books are fun and games. It's entirely fun and games.
That is false.
I know, I'm joking. Fun and pain, yeah.
Fun and pain.
Fun and pain.
Too many people have came in / called. Now I'm 10 minutes behind. Babe, so
So
much.
flawless.
You're fine.
I love how question 1 is on the screen.
Oh. I mean, please give your input still. Yes, thank you. And I will try not to skip any more of your comments. That'll be our trade. Lexi says, sometimes I'll pass on a manuscript because of a lack of structure. Keep that in mind, people. It's like if this story doesn't have a midpoint turn, the story flops. If there's no all is lost moment, it feels too fast or easy. So interesting. But yeah, keep that in mind. Lexi's a real one, guys. Danny says, next big trend, as if it's not prevalent in the biggest fantasy classic like Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia. See, this is why I need you to make the video of it. Because how's there alchemy in those books? Like, how is that? How are they structured
Magic.
alchemically?
Using, with the it's a
I
metaphor.
guess we'll just have to wait for the video to see.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Marta says, I disagree that you can't pants a non-linear story. You totally can. It'll just take a silly amount of revisions to fix all the plot holes after the initial pantsing. To be fair, Marta, I love to never be seen disagreeing with you, but I don't think I said you can't pants a non-linear story. I think that's what I said. Like, or if I said that's why you can't pants, I meant that's why you can't pants a good non-linear story.
Without plot holes.
Without plot holes, because that was the specific discussion. I was talking about plot holes. Not that I've tried, but I mean, I think you can pants whatever you want. It's just about whether or not you're going to pants it and then it'll be usable. Sam says, I feel like the Witcher TV show had a fine way of structuring the nonlinear story. I just think it wasn't obvious. See, this is what Kate was saying. Katie was saying about it was more of a production issue than a story, like script issue.
Mm-hmm.
Violet says, if I ever finish one of my nonlinear whips that I pantsed, I'll let y'all know about it. Can't wait. Yeah.
I thought we did get her point of view. Maybe not.
Very unrelated, but my boyfriend just looked over my shoulder and asked, what are bangs? See, it's not me. Wow. I am getting close.
Glenn close.
Also, that's what she said. Well, I'm caught up with the video.
It's not what she said. That's what he said. Sorry.
You know what? Fair. Example of bad marketing. Yep. That movie poster is wild. It's also like, lest we forget she has a waist, everyone. Mm-hmm. That was my gripe with Ace of Spades. There wasn't a single moment the character said any fun and games, and it was constant angst. It can be exhausting. They do both say question one because I was subverting my own tropes. Like she is, in fact, a real one. Lol, guess you didn't read The Magician's Nephew then. I did read The Magician's Nephew. That's my favorite of all the books. But
That's The Magician's Nephew, taste.
What?
It's subjective. The Magician's Nephew is...
I love it.
A fine book.
But here's my thing. Actually, this is maybe one of my favorite story structures to answer the question on my own to read. I love when you get all this information about stuff and then, you follow book series, right? And it has its own structure, whatever. And then you get the origin story. I love an origin story post events that we get, I don't love superhero origin stories where it's like, okay, this small town kid is fell into a vat of radioactive lizards and is gonna
not radioactive lizards.
Oh my god, my computer is at 1%.
But to have a controversial opinion, maybe. Well, I guess not. Maybe I hate the superhero origin story thing.
I hate all superheroes. So
there. I just feel like when your plot focuses on how a hero gets his powers and how he becomes a hero, it's just boring. I just prefer stories where superheroes are still struggling with being a superhero, but they have a bigger plot outside of that.
Yeah, I just feel like, I guess this is structure related, but how every Marvel movie is the same movie.
True.
That's my least favorite structure. It's just the hero's journey, I suppose.
All right, guys. I have to put a pin in it because I was really catching up and now I'm falling behind again. But yeah, you're totally right, Katie. The superhero origin story, not my favorite, but I love a good origin story after we've seen everything. Like if we were following a superhero for all this long time and then we eventually got their origin story for how they were, I love that shit. I love that. Caitlin's saying not structural at all, but speaking of real ones, I tend to attach to characters that are ride or dies for the people they love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why? Let's analyze that.
Are
you missing that in your life? Are you missing that in your life, Caitlin?
Is it
Lord-
it's a pomegranate. No, try again, darling. What is it
Okay.
really?
It's not a pomegranate.
What is it?
It's a grapefruit. All right. Laura says, some all is lost moments feel so unearned, though. The original Suicide Squad movie felt like it was just ticking a checkbox with that bar talk scene near the end, so undeserved and lazy.
I had the same issues with the Wheel of Time series. Like the All Is Lost moment was so underserved in the TV show.
That's interesting. Gay says, I have a confession. In my first few streams, I always mixed up Katie with Kate because of how similar the names are. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll take being known as Kate Kavanaugh. I'm kidding.
I left to do my hair and we're also still going through comments before I left. You know what, guys? I
I'm
love
loving
how
it.
every stream, this is what gets commented on, as if this isn't just what it is. It is what it is. It's what it's.
It is what it is.
A radioactive lizard is never late. That is true.
Lizard Blaine.
Not lizard believe.
I don't think I have a preferred structure to read. To write, I think it would be when I can mirror a beginning and ending in a short story. Yeah. Yeah. I love a good mirroring moment.
Or like when the first line and the last line is the same line, but has a different context. Oh, I'm a sucker
That
for that.
That shit slaps.
Does.
I think we've talked about lizards before. I don't know about radioactive lizards. I don't know. Okay, hold on. I also wish more characters start their stories for selfish reasons and not selfish as in, oh, I have to learn healing to heal my father, but like I want to be more powerful because I love money.
To go back to
This should be
something I
my
said,
upcoming book.
Yeah.
and you should read The Wrath King.
I don't know many books that follow this. I don't know if it's a thing, but I would like the villain's journey or the anti-hero's journey. Give me that.
I love the
Yeah, I find that like a lot of stories, at least recently, have been like, oh, this is what that is. But then it's always like, yeah, but they're villainous for reasons where you're like, okay, I kind of get it. And like in reality, you're kind of being a hero. But like, no, give me a real villain. Like, give me someone who's just like, give me, spoiler alert, give me Shadow and Bone, where she's like, you know what? I do want to rule the empire with, you know, a guy, or like, you know, or like, I just want to get rid of him and become my own
There you
ruler
go.
of the empire because I don't like his views, but I do like the idea of being uber powerful, you know? Give me that, you know?
I just Cruella de Vil. She's my favorite villain.
Okay, no, don't give me killing puppies. That is, I do draw the line there. You can kill people, not puppies.
What if she
not babies,
made
apparently.
out of skin though? Would that be okay?
No. Miranda says, my favorite TikTok sound. Max Fosh is an icon for isolating that and knowing it would be a great TikTok sound. Yeah, it's a good one. No, darling, it's not a pomegranate.
So good.
Or was it this one? It is what it is. I don't know. I don't know who any of these people are, so I'm just making contextual clues. Gay says, so who's going to come out and say the lizard scientist in the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s? He was so sexy, and for what? I don't know. And I probably think I would disagree. But maybe Katie wouldn't, our resident monster girl.
I don't know who this man is. I'm sorry to this man.
Yeah. Where she's like, you know what? Make me your villain. Yeah. But on that note, I hate a villain who becomes a villain simply because they like being evil.
I don't know. If you have a villain who's
Capricorn,
and there is something to be said about a villain who likes being evil, and they play up the camp of it all.
Yeah, give me a campy evil villain, and I could get behind it.
Which, if you've read The Wrath King, you know I love a campy evil villain.
But to me, Voldemort is a villain who is evil for the sake of being evil. You know, like, and like, yeah, he had his motives.
His motive is evil.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I guess if it's truly just but then like, what about the Joker, who's literally just like, some men just want to watch the world burn, like, see
okay,
that,
but
like,
he's campy. He's wild and campy, whereas Voldemort is serious, and his ideas are seriously, not that the Joker's doesn't, but like, Voldemort is a different level, in my opinion.
Sam, I am officially campaigning to be a beta reader. Yes, please. Send me your book, Katie.
I need to rewrite it first.
It's good to be bad from Descendants. I never saw Descendants, so I don't know.
I need to watch it.
It's so good.
it is a bop.
Talk about camp.
Fair enough. Okay, guys, here we go. Evil for the sake of power is different than evil for the sake of evil, I think. Yo, that's a motive. The Joker is unhinged. He's angry at the world and wants to get back at it. Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Depends on the version of the Joker, though.
That's true. But we've made it to the end of the comments, so we're not going to further any discussion. We're going to a new sprint.
There's 2 new comments.
Y'all gotta watch The Descendants. Okay, well, maybe. I don't know. I've had a lot of things recommended to me today, and I have starred. If you've recommended something to me, I've starred it, so I remember.
You didn't star Miranda's.
I think people misunderstand evil for the sake of evil. Like, if the reasons for being evil are considered evil, example, want to watch the world burn are sadistic, that's evil for evil's sake. I agree. I think, yeah, I agree, and I think it can be done well. I think you can do evil for evil's sake well. Because
good luck in your meeting, Lexi.
Good luck. I don't have a timer set up. Hello, help my life.
Lexi really is a real one.
We're gonna do Goop.
Miranda, that is entirely the reason I want to watch Descendants. I will watch the first one just to watch the second one, so I can Sleeveless Eyeliner, Thomas Darby. It's right here, Lexi.
Share screen.
Oh, brain fart.
Do you think my computer can handle StreamYard and The Sims?
No.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
No, Katie, work. You can
No, why?
Have you uploaded a chapter?
I did last night.
Oh, good job.
It's taking a break today.
Oh my gosh, Lexi, go fish, girl. All right. Happy Sunday, guys. Yay! The sprint is over, and that is going to be our final sprint of the day because I have an appointment to get to, but we still have more questions to answer. So, I should have focused on how to combine the questions, but I didn't do that. But I feel like the last question is a quicker question. So, okay. Oh, I'm hearing myself. Hello, it's Katie. It's got to be Katie. Testing. Yeah, it was Katie. Stig, did I show why you guys muted? Oh, no, you're not. Okay.
Because you're testing.
Yeah, because you were echoing. I had to make sure it wasn't me.
You wanted to make sure it was Katie.
All right. So, question number 2. We're going to kind of skip the first part of the question because I feel like we kind of all generally covered it, I think. But feel free to cover it again if you wish. But this is like a hyper-specific question, but this was Stig's question. Is where does a story typically start for you? And also on a first draft, how much are you keeping structure in mind? I feel like a lot of us already answered that, but you're free to reiterate if you would like to. And Katie, it's your hot seat.
Our hot seat, sweetie.
Where does the story typically start for me? Like, just like story, like when I start writing a story or when I'm brainstorming a story or like when I'm coming up with a story idea, like, is there a specific point you're looking for?
Like when you are thinking about how you're going to tell a story, where naturally is like the first part that your brain goes to? I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm going to spend the first couple chapters giving a whole bunch of background about how the world begins. And then there's some people who are like, no, this story is starting immediately with like a house on fire and somebody running outside of it screaming crazily. And then other people are like, we're going to, get into a Game of Thrones where we start with someone who we think is the main character, but really it's just an introduction into events and that person dies off screen and then we really get the story going. So that's kind of what I mean.
Okay. So you mean like when you're actually writing the story. Okay. In the creation of the story.
In terms of story structure, how do you structure your stories for the start?
I tend to try to keep it as close to the action as I can, or like right after a major like shaking event. For example, to talk about the beginning of the Wrath King, which some people who have read it know. It starts off with a massacre in a city, and the main character is investigating this horrific massacre that has occurred. And so that's, I tried in my original draft of the Wrath King, I literally started with the massacre itself, and showed in detail the massacre happening and like this horrific, tragic event to kind of be this hook that draws the reader in so that and gives them, maybe a little shady, but gives them an emotional response. So perhaps they'll want to know what happened and have this, eventually we'll have a resolution by the end of the story of what happened, of why the event happened. And then, we get a little bit of, the villain gets his comeuppance essentially, which is a spoiler, non-spoiler, but the person who commits the massacre, they get what's coming to them. So yeah, I like to start a story as close to the action as possible, or with like something that changes, the events, that changes the trajectory of the character that you're following. I think that's really important. For me as a writer, in order to not get bored with my own story, I have to start with an event that just really kicks into the character and like shakes up their entire world. Otherwise, like, why are we here?
I like it. Very clear, very concise, well-defined answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kay says, I just get a random ass scene and get the vibes. I let them marinate until I have a beginning and end, and then I can start writing. Do you feel like that throughout the course of your writing, there's consistency about where you typically start, where that beginning typically is for you, or do they all have different vibes? Denny says, I keep structure in mind when I outline, but once I get to drafting, I'm okay with fudging it as the story needs. Yeah, but where does the story begin for you as a structure standpoint? Sam says, it greatly depends. Sometimes with a character, sometimes a scene idea, a lot of times the character art, rarely the plot. Oh, like an opening scene. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not asking like, where do you first get your ideas for stories? I'm saying when you have your idea for your story, in what, because, you know, we're talking about structure, what is typically your go-to opening for the story? Actually, although I should clarify with Stig, because that's how I interpreted this question when you sent it to me. But how did you mean it?
We're just skipping grape?
No, I'm saying I'm asking for a specific clarification. How did you mean when you sent
Well,
me?
the specific clarification was that I wanted it to be open-ended. Like, where does the story start for you? Does it start at the inciting incident? Does it start a little after the inciting incident? Does it start with a scene in mind?
Mhm.
Does it start with you listening to a song and then envisioning a time unfold?
Interesting. Well, whereas Stig is being open-ended, I am being extremely defined. I want to know typically how you start your stories and why you start them that way. Hold on, Grape, we are going to get to you. Just going to give you a second. Violet says, it doesn't matter where I start. I always change the beginning a bunch of times later. Okay, but then like where does it end where you start? Wait, no, how do I phrase this question? Like what kind of beginning do you typically end up on? You know? Crystal, I start with action, then calm things down for a bit, then build back up. I'm a roller coaster kind of gal. Hi, Hudson. It's not about to end. We are done with our last sprint, but I say we've got a while to go because I have this question, I have another question, but in between the two questions, we're gonna discuss a question that Miranda asked. So we've got
So 3 questions.
So 3 questions. So buckle in, guys. Caitlin, also in some sort of action. One story I have starts with a therapy scene. We call a therapy scene action. That's interesting. Then later on throughout the story, you discover why the main character's in therapy. Ooh, I love that, though. That's interesting. City starts with the main character in the middle of a test that determines her path, an actionable scene that throws the character into a story. I like to start with a moment of vague calm. Ooh, when there's obviously some underlying sense of unease before really hitting with the actual first big event. I actually love that too.
I'm stealing that answer, Danny.
Well, I'm gonna do Marta's and then Sam's, and then we'll get to Grape. Question 2. For draft 1, I literally start from the first thing that I can think of where the idea starts and then figure out what happens from there. Structure is a draft 2 problem. That's fair. I most often open a story mid-scene or to the end of a scene. It could be a conversation, hiding a body, the end of a fight, just something that shows a bit of the main character and a what's going on. I love that. Devesha, the floor is yours.
Ultimately, I think it depends on the plot of the story,
Mm-hmm.
the overall plot.
How?
But I can't explain. You know what I'm talking about, though. You know what I mean.
I'd love for you to explain, but you're good. What the most?
You can read my mind. You know what's going on.
Sure.
Up here.
Yeah, makes really good content though, as we just sit here and have a conversation in silence. The most recent story you wrote, or most recent story you worked on, how did you start that story?
It started in like an everyday situation, but like
Mm-hmm.
the everyday part just before the action.
Just before the weekend part?
Yep. Start on a Friday.
And
on Friday.
in revision, do you think that that's where your story will stay in its beginning, or do you think it'll shift?
I don't know. I think it might stay. Because it's not I think it's a good place to set up not the stakes,
Mm-hmm.
but the like why the reader should care about what's happening to this girl's life. That makes sense.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. When you start a story, are you the kind of writer who's trying to entice and draw a reader in? Like kind of
No.
with mystery and slowly? Are you a boom, sit down in your chair, this is what's happening, buckle up kind of writer?
When I write, I don't think about the reader that's not me. When I write, I'm thinking about what I enjoy Fuck the reader.
Somebody clip that, please. All right. Malin says, I might be finishing work right now, which is the first time in 6 months I get to enjoy early Friday finish, which we normally get. Sorry, I just felt really excited. And we're very excited for you. That's awesome. I hope you have a good weekend. I do think I get different vibes. The different beginnings are necessary for me so I can make them as distinct as possible. I'm going to see if an artist has their commission open so I can get some art. Ooh, nice. I normally like a slower beginning, building up to a bigger event, but moved it to right after the action with flashbacks to it because it wasn't working before. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I would say my typical habit is I kind of have like two inciting incidents, I think, in my typical writing where I have this one thing. And like these three are going to know what I'm talking about because they've seen my outline for or for my story that's I'm working on right now. But this was also true for Project EC, but it has since been fixed by helpful people. But I start when I'm like, here's this thing that happened 10 years ago. And here's all this information about this thing that happened 10 years ago. And it's really interesting. Like, here's the vibes and the general aesthetic of the story. And you get all of that information through this thing that happened 10 years ago. And now we're going to skip forward to the real inciting incident. And that's kind of, I think that's like my typical go-to.
Your prologue early.
That's chapter 1 of human resources.
Yeah.
It is chapter, but I really
prologue.
think though, I don't think, well, who knows? I don't think chapter 1 of human resources will change because I really think that is the inciting incident. And that is like truly the whole point to the story. The Project EC, it was more of like, I had magical elements in the story and I needed a way to explain them. So I like wrote all about the main character finding out about the magic for the first time. And so, and that was when he was a child. So that's,
Well,
but
I also think
ultimately that's stuff that can be like sprinkled in throughout the story. You don't need to start the story there. Whereas I think for Project HR, I need to start the story where I start the story. Although maybe not. Maybe I'll have someone be like, no, this doesn't work.
like I think there's a big difference between whether you what kind of story you're writing. Like if you're writing a character study or like an in-depth, like where you're really looking at a character, your beginning is going to be a lot different than if you're writing an action-packed plot forward story. Because if you're starting with a character kind of story, you have to start with this, like, you have to internalize, you have to give the reader a chance to internalize what kind of character they're dealing with so they can go on the journey. Where if you're doing plot action or where you plot forward, you have to kind of start with like the thing that kicks off the entire plot so you can roll along with it and you learn the characters along the way. So I think HR is a very good example of a very character focused journey where most of the plot centers around the fact that she has this goal and she's had this goal for 10 years and you have to learn how she got this goal.
Yeah. But it is funny though, because I feel like, HR as a project is very introspective and is very much a character driven project. But that opening chapter, I think, is pretty action heavy. And it's very much like it's a lot more action heavy than the initial opening chapter of Project DC. Like the initial opening chapter of Project DC was this little boy having this conversation with his grandmother and learning all about their family history and stuff. And now it's been changed to where it opens with a car crash. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Also, thank you, Katie, for verbalizing what I was trying to say earlier, or what I was thinking earlier.
What
I can read your mind, babe. The character-driven versus plot-driven.
When I said it depends on the story.
Yeah.
Got it. Fair enough. Hudson says, I normally write a chapter before, but then I try to delete everything before the inciting incident. That pre-chapter is for me to truly understand who character was prior. Yeah, that's fair.
That's an interesting method.
Yeah. I like to start with the characters just before something happens so we get a feel for what her life was before. Yeah. But the question is, and again, from a context of a reader standpoint, do you think that is conducive to like getting a reader to stick with it? I think I don't know if modern publishing underestimates readers and is sort of like you have to have the inciting incident immediately or else the reader's going to get bored. I feel like that's kind of an underestimation, but I feel like that is also, I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog absolutely freaking out right now. There is a delivery truck outside. But oh my gosh, she's like obsessed. Anyway, sometimes I wonder if the idea of like having your inciting incident right off the bat is a little bit just because they're assuming readers are a certain type of way, which I don't know if I don't really know if they are.
I just think that's the novel version of short form content,
Mhm.
and that people don't have the mental capacity to wait around for nothing.
But is it nothing?
I mean, nothing is never nothing, but
That's a good point.
it's the same as like people doing YouTube videos. Like, how much TikTok do you watch versus how many YouTube videos a day, Wallace?
Actually, I can answer that question. I now try to attempt to watch an hour worth of AuthorTube videos every single day.
So that's
And
like what, 2.5 YouTube videos?
well, it depends. A lot of people make about 10-minute videos. So I try and watch 5 to 6 videos a day at least. And then TikTok, I relegate to base it off how many to-do list items I get done, determines how much TikTok I get to watch. So no, but you're right. Short form content versus, yeah, that's fair. Anna says, quick view into a character's current life and problems before we blow it up. Seems like it's classic. The story begins where it needs to begin. Thank you for that incredibly specific answer.
I mean,
What I'm saying
it's
is,
an answer.
how do you know where it's supposed to begin? That's the question.
Vibes.
Yeah. Vibology.
I know, but sometimes there's a way that we can verbalize those internal vibes so that way it's helpful information to other people who literally have no idea where to start, a la me. I usually start with some kind of action that introduces the character and like their lack or / need. I like that. Gaze, I also open up on something that'll make my best friend who reads all my first drafts go, bestie, you're so deranged for how you did this. How did you come up with this? I love that. I love that being your goal. I guess I try to start on a sinking ship, thanks to all craft book knowledge. I think the 27-point outline calls that first one a very, very bad day or something, which I like. Close enough to their Act 1, but also showing the need for change. Close enough to the Act 1 life, but also showing their need for change. For Project Sight, I wanted to do something that was everyday life, but also scary and relevant to later. So I started off with my main character on the way to work, but in a location that highlights her fear of heights. Ooh, that's so good. Hudson agrees with you. Kelly says, I'm more of a slow burn writer, so my first scans are slow build up. That's fair enough. Story genius term. I love it. I love how educated everybody in the comments is. In line with what you're saying, Katie, I'm learning a lot from Story Genius. The whole your character needs things from their I thought this was
The SAT.
I was like, what? It depends on the story, but yeah, I think you have to have something before so we know why the inciting incident even matters. That's fair. Legit writing advice that went around the mid-2010s was to treat the reader like they were stupid, and I hated it. Yeah. Like, writers were actually advised to dumb down their writing and outright explain everything out, and that's so contradictory to how I enjoy reading and writing. Yeah, and I don't know if you were here before, Sam, but I was saying that one, I don't know if it's like a weakness in my writing or it's just like an aspect of it that I need to consider is that I typically write for my second reader, where I'm not writing for the person who's reading the story for the first time. I'm writing the story for the person who's come back a second time. And I think that helps me, include like important foreshadowing and stuff. But I do also think it prevents me from keeping the pacing good. So there's a balance. Caitlin says, I guess a scene that makes us care about the characters before they're thrown into the actual story. Okay, that's fair. It's like when you see, the cop who's like about to retire and it's like they're having their retirement party and then you're like, oh, well, they're going to be dead by the end of the book.
By the end of the scene, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like how when we get introduced to Black Panther, not to make things Marvel because you know how I hate doing that, but like spoiler alert for I don't even know what movie it's for, but when they're at the like United Nations type thing and we meet him and his dad and it's like, oh, here are these new characters and they have such a cute father-son relationship and oops. Marta says, okay, but I'm intrigued by that distinction. Watching TikTok as a reward for getting tasks done versus watching YouTube being an item on your to-do list. Yeah, so a lot of my items on my to-do list I enjoy doing. I don't think that Kiki, oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys can hear her barking, sorry.
She's having a day.
She's really having a day.
She's just trying to come in on structure and you're not listening.
Sorry, she's really distracting me. Yeah. But TikTok, watching AuthorTube videos, I feel like is part of it. Feels productive to me because I'm maintaining relationships, I'm supporting people in the community. Versus, I don't comment on TikToks. I don't, it's pure like just turning my brain off. A lot of times when I'm watching AuthorTube videos, I'm not turning my brain off. I'm trying to engage with the video. So it is on. It's an active item on my to-do list. Sorry.
Which I think goes towards Stig's point of like being the short form versus long form. Because long form you have to turn on your brain to use, where short form you just scroll mindlessly and it's slowly turning your attention span shorter.
Lynn says, I think you need to move along quickly for sure if you aren't starting with action. Some books have 10 chapters before the inciting incident. No, that feels like forever. That's true. I sometimes struggle to even determine what my inciting incident is, though. So that's how you know I'm a real amateur. Michael says, I hope you've been having a good structure discussion. I've finished some stuff, and now our 3 riddles are ready to go. Good for you. Sadly, I will be missing the riddle stream today because I have an appointment, unfortunately.
You're getting bangs.
I'm getting bangs. Sam says, I was
banged. Sorry.
I have a bang appointment.
Getting banged later.
Sam says, I wasn't here for that, but I think that's a perfectly valid way to write. And there's a lot of readers who will catch those foreshadowing in the first read, though pacing is important for both. Yeah, and that's where I really struggle. I remember in 2010 being in creative writing class where my teacher vented about dumbing it down rule, saying we were just making readers dumb. That's also fair. Also, I want to info dump on my rewrite so bad on somebody, but I just cannot words right now. There she blows, portside full rudder, me, aye, captain. I can't wait to rewatch the riddle stream. Caitlin says, it's interesting. All the advice I've heard on that is your reader isn't stupid. Let them draw their own conclusions. Don't spell it out for them. Yeah.
It's one of my main gripes in like movies. Visual.
Except it's with Stig.
With Stig.
What was the thing?
One of your main gripes about dumbing it down, something?
Oh, in visual media, when you get like the camera close in or like the camera lingering, when it's just so obvious.
Yes.
Like the novel version of that, I hate it.
Yeah.
I kind of love it though. It's so funny. They do this so much in murder mystery shows. I was literally watching one with my mom the other day, and there's this, it always starts with the cold open with a character you don't know, and it's focusing on one character, and like, that's going to be the murder victim. She gets in the car. She's saying that she's going off to work to her husband. She gets in the car, and they focus in on her left hand and her fucking wedding ring, and then literally she gets out, goes to a gas station, gets gas, goes into the like bathroom or whatever, comes back out. She's like jamming out in the car, circle back to her fucking left hand where her wedding ring is gone. And earlier I'd been like, she's going to take that wedding ring off because she's going to have an affair. And what was she doing? Going to have an affair.
Fair enough.
It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to make fun of it, is what I'm trying to say.
Stig, maybe, but I kind of just like us going in and being like, except it's Stig. Here's the truth. If they turn out horribly, you will not see me for 6 months. So everything is fair.
No!
Well, you are known for your 6-month hiatuses, so I guess that
It's true. It's true. All right. So before we get on to our next Wallissimo question, I want to go in.
Did Stig answer the question?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Stig.
I didn't. It's fine.
It's not fine.
Where's the story for you?
Yeah, I always start off with the 4-act structure, and then I alter it as I develop the story, really. I think having the structure in mind when you write or when you outline, because I'm a huge outliner, it's really helpful because then I can just plot.
Hey, Stig, is your mic not connected?
Oh, it probably is. But thank you for taking 5 minutes to say that.
I'm sorry. I just felt like you felt far away. I'm not sure.
I forgot where I was.
Well, anyway, where does a story typically start for you?
I tend to go maybe a little too far into the story before I start, to the point where you don't really care about anything that happens.
Oh, that's interesting.
But, I always plan on going back in revisions and fix it, but as I've said, I never finish anything, so
You have finished things. You finished Dark Clouds over Cairo.
That is fair.
I don't think Project Atlas started too far in. I think it started at a good place.
Maybe, but I still feel like you don't really care about the characters.
How do you feel about the current book that you're working on? Do you feel like it starts soon enough or not really?
I feel like it starts too late, so I will probably have to go back and edit that. But
That's so
hopefully-
interesting. Isn't the opening well, I don't want to now I just want to end the stream and talk to you about this.
Yeah, so do I.
How interesting. Well, we'll put a pin in it and we'll discuss when we can talk about spoilers and stuff because that's interesting. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts though on this question? I feel bad that I was okay. Also, Katie, I hate to say it, but your mic is also sounding strange. Is there a way? I don't know.
Sorry.
You're fine. Just
No, I'm not. Obviously, you wouldn't have said anything.
No, there you go. No, that sounds good. I think you just have to hold it close to you. Okay.
Go full TikToker revealing drama.
So Miranda asked about microstructure. Do you have a favorite scene structure, not necessarily an overall structure? And I think we could just do a quick round of answering this one. Katie?
Can I? Oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to answer this quickly. I might need time to think this over. Can you put me back to where I was, Your Honor, so I can be last? Since I got here last.
Stig?
I actually don't write on a scene level. I write on a structure level. So my structure has a beginning, middle, and end, but my scenes are very like all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I always like to cut the scene just before I should. Like when people feel like, "Ooh, I could have had 2 more paragraphs," I'm like, "Yes, that's what I want to leave you with."
Yeah.
Structure-wise, on a micro level, I don't know. Has any one of you heard of what are they called? Like MRUs, like motivation reaction units?
Yes.
I don't know that.
It's like literally on a line-to-line level where you have like a motivation, a reaction, and you kind of just alternate those throughout your entire manuscript. So when you go back and edit, you can literally just like action comes before dialogue, and I'll put it in the chat. It's a really interesting article if you want to get really down on the micro level of.
Please do. That would be awesome.
Structure.
Thank you. Devisha?
I like when scenes in themselves are kind of like short stories. They have
Okay.
beginning, middle, end.
Yeah. Do you not feel though that like if that was repeated throughout an entire novel, that would get a little tiresome? If it's like every chapter felt like beginning, middle, end, like setup, conflict,
Yeah, I feel
resolution.
like of course you need some variation, but I really don't like the like continued micro cliffhanger thing. If every chapter is a micro cliffhanger, I don't like that. That's why I didn't like Children of Blood and Bone, because I felt like every single chapter ended like that, and I wasn't a fan.
That's really funny because that's literally the way that I write. And because, during our sprints, I've been going back over my outline for my story I've just outlined. And I remember writing it, and at the end of every, chapter summary, I go, bum, bum, bum. Because of the way that it ends. I like, especially in the back half, the second act and the third act, it's like every chapter is big reveal, big reveal, big reveal. But it's not like necessarily a twist. It's just a big reveal. But yeah, no, I definitely need to work on that, because I agree with you. I think that if you don't have, like, if it's always fully action set up and resolved within a chapter, that just gets boring and there's no like urge to continue. But if it's always micro cliffhanger, it's exhausting. I feel like that's probably emotionally exhausting.
I love it when like there's a main point to a scene, and then there's like this tiny background noise, but then the background noise is the actual event of the scene. Oh, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that is always really good. Catherine, have you had enough time?
I enjoy micro cliffhangers, but not every single chapter. So like, as long as your book isn't that, you don't have to hide it from me.
Yeah.
I have had a chance to think of my answer. I think I see when I write scenes, they tend to end up being like super, super, super long chapters. Like I have scenes, and it depends on the book I'm writing, but the book I'm currently writing, I've noticed that my pattern with it is you start with the character in a certain state of mind or a certain like emotional state, or something has happened and they're like kind of, or they're, talking to another character or something, like they're having a conversation or they're doing action, or especially with like romance that doesn't have any like outside fantasy elements. I think it's easier to see the structure of a chapter or of a scene. So I start them with one place, and then I usually like to end their scene or their part of the chapter or whatever, where they're in the opposite place. So if they're at a high emotional high, or they're kind of emotional high, I like to have like kind of a something sad has happened, or they've been hurt by something, or if they're bored at the beginning of the chapter, I want to end their scene where they're really excited about something, or vice versa, where they're really upset and hurt over something, and then by the end they've resolved it and had some kind of like either emotional conclusion to it, or like something like that, or they've had a conversation with someone that has made them feel better in some way, even if the main conflict between the two main characters hasn't been resolved. It's been, they have a plan moving forward, and then I just kind of move and twist and shape them individually based on like, if you start from a high and you're at a low, obviously the next time you see them, they're probably still going to be at somewhat of a low, and then you can end at a higher, just following the emotional undercurrents of the character in order to create a sort of structure within the scenes that you see them in. Specifically for the book that I'm currently writing, I think it's a little bit more difficult for fantasy because you have a lot more elements, at least in my opinion. I feel like there's a lot more elements to juggle beyond just the character's emotional state, their relationship with other characters, and like some of the external plot things that are happening. But with fantasy, you have to juggle magic and politics and all the other things as well, to ensure that the scene flows in a, in a way that's satisfying for the reader. And to kind of go with Devesha's point, I also don't love micro cliffhangers. But if I am going to do a micro cliffhanger, I like to have something, at least one thing resolved within the scene, and then add another micro cliffhanger. So you have that moment of like, oh, thank God. But then it's like, oh, you fucked it up again at the end. And then you can get to the next chapter. And I don't do that all the time, but I think that's a way to kind of stop the emotional turmoil of just constantly being on edge at the end of every single chapter. Because you're right, that can get exhausting. I
don't like being edged.
You're not an edge queen?
It's not an edge word.
Amazing. Kivy says, I keep changing my first chapter. I can never pick what I want. I think it's because I read so many Pitch Wars first chapters and they're all so catchy that I worry mine is boring. That's fair. Danny says, I have no idea how to structure scenes. It's mainly just cutting scenes up where the vibes feel right. For scene structure, I use the plot embryo. Crystal says, I usually cut the scene right where it feels right or the location changes. Stig has happily given us an article about what does MRU stand for? Something emotional
motivation reaction unit.
Okay.
It's a way to structure your like even your paragraph. So you have like the feelings first, and then the action, and then a speech. You kind of just, it's very fascinating. But I love structure. So.
My boyfriend's favorite criticism is this chapter doesn't have any structure / the structure is confusing. So my answer is I don't know how to structure. I love how in depth your boyfriend gets. It's like, that's legitimate feedback, and that's nice. Although, also harsh. I get bored if a scene has no dialogue and accidentally skim read it. I'm the same way. That's why a lot of classics are hard for me to read, because classics typically are not dialogue heavy. Sam says, my fave scene is tension to reveal, or my fave scene structure. Love interest is dropping hints they're about to confess. Ooh, yes. Main character is picking up these hints. They're getting physically close. Then boom, reveal and kiss. I love it. Or like clues are piecing together in the main character's mind. They're alone with the murderer who's getting closer. Boom, then kiss. Yeah. I do enjoy chapters. Yeah, me too. The way I wrote fanfic was cliffhanger at the end of every chapter. But again, I think for fan fiction, that's very specific because it's going to be so long before your readers come back that you kind of have to write it like that because it's a reason for them to come back. It's like, again, a lot of classic books were written serialized. And so they have that cliffhanger chapter, micro cliffhanger chapter style because it was the way they were published. Oh, here she goes again.
She has thoughts about it.
Yeah, she does. So mostly it's just people talking to each other. So I'm going to quickly put on question 3. Final question. What is your favorite example of a subversion of structure in writing /movies/TV? Stig, the floor is yours.
Ooh, my favorite. I really do like The Witcher, where kind of the duality of the timeline is
Okay.
like you don't understand until not the end, but you have to watch a few episodes before you understand what the concept is. And I personally love that, but I guess it's not for everyone.
Fair enough.
But I wouldn't say that's a subversion, though. How do you subvert structure?
I didn't want to push you on that, but like I could be there for an argument if you said that it's a non-linear story where they specifically weren't trying to let you know that it was non-linear, and that I do think is kind of a subversion because I think most non-linear stories, for the most part, try to make it very clear so as to not confuse the reader. And if it was The Witcher's intention to not let you know and to like have it be a reveal that this story is non-linear, then I do think that is a subversion. And I can understand why it might have been one you enjoyed. I just did not because I thought it was very confusing.
That's fair. But I feel like my confusion was rewarded by the knowledge that, it's different timelines.
Fair enough.
But if you want to talk like subversion, I guess, have you seen the movie Looper?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good, I don't know, is that a subversion? Do people really subvert structure?
I definitely think they can. In fact, the example I have, I definitely consider a subversion of structure.
Share with the class?
Yeah,
Sorry?
I don't have a good example of subversion of structure.
Okay. So we all know Wallissimo talks about herself in the third person, but we also know that she hates multi-POVs and she hates the same event written over and over again from different POVs. Like literally that was said an hour ago. My favorite story that subverts structure is, and this is going to be spoilers, mild spoilers for The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, not to be confused with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. But that story is the same. It's a Groundhog Day kind of story. It's the same day over and over again. And we see it's like technically from multiple POVs because it's all from different characters, like physical characters, different perspectives of the day, but it's all one POV. It's one single consciousness going from mind to mind. And so that is my favorite subversion of like a Groundhog Day multi-POV structure, is that it's multi-POVs, but it's not. And that's how you're going to get me to like multi-POVs if it's not multi-POV. So that's my example. Michael is asking the 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, not to be confused with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Which is really confusing because both books are green.
Yes, they are. Well, the one I have for Hardcastle is like black and white, or black, white, and red. It's like very 1920s aesthetic. 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Oh my God, Caitlin, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Well, the thing I just told you is something you figure out after the first chapter.
Isn't that the premise of the premise?
It's
like,
kind of it's a little
that
bit.
Literally it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes, Wallace. I loved it. Yes. Okay. Devasia, did that example help you out at all? Come up with something of your own?
It helped me define subversion of structure, but I don't have an example.
I would like to remind everybody that they had these questions 2 days in advance. Maybe just 1 day. Was it 1 day in advance? I don't know.
1.5.
It was like 36 hours.
I never got the written one, so I'm excused.
Katie, how about you? You had one. Was it Inception?
It was not. It was not. Because I don't actually think Inception subverts the nonlinear trope. I actually don't think it does. I think it plays very handily into the nonlinear trope.
Yeah.
Tenet, however, I think tries to subvert it, but however fails. But we are not here to talk about
them. Well, I mean, I guess we could, but my specific example I came up with is a book called In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado.
Spoiler alert, maybe. Just aware.
Maybe, but it's a memoir.
Okay.
And it is told non-linearly.
Okay.
But I've talked about this book before, so I'm so sorry if people have to hear me talk about it for the billionth time. I just love this book so much. It is about a woman who is talking about her the years she spent in an abusive relationship, and so she starts to categorize her experiences into like literary tropes, and like starts to talk about things that happened to her in terms of different structures, different things that happened to her. I can't think of anything specifically now, but when she's talking about what I also find interesting, and this is a little bit of subversion, or not subversion, but using this POV really well, is when she's talking about her experiences in the dream house with this abusive woman she was in a relationship with. She uses second person, and the second person is really fascinating.
Sorry, you just breathed into your
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. No. It's good to be able to hear you.
So it's in second person, and so you really get to empathize with her because you yourself are put into the position of it.
Yeah.
However, what I find is,
can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Is it second person referring you as in the accuser of you did this to me, or you experienced this?
You experienced this. It's as if you are her.
Okay.
Going through this with this woman that she had a relationship with.
Okay.
So what I also find really interesting, though, and why I think it subverts narrative or nonlinear structure is because it is obviously it's told nonlinearly. It's told in different chunks and different sections of her life, and her experiences going forward with this woman, bouncing back and forth between more obvious examples of abuse, whereas like with gaslighting examples and with the examples of the times when she was when they were were on a good terms or whatever,
Yeah.
What subverts it about the structure is that she takes opportunities. Danny, this is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. It's excellent. So when she's talking about things that you, the reader, might not necessarily be knowledgeable about, or where she's moving outside of the realm of talking about herself and her experiences and the you, she switchbacks to first person and starts talking and starts like educating. Essentially, she has an entire chapter because she's a queer woman in a queer relationship, and that's what I find is also interesting. Is she talks a lot about femininity, and specifically how back in like the 50s and 60s and 70s or such, women were believed that they could not be abusive because they're too weak, weak-willed or weak-minded, or they're too docile, too nice. And this was for women abusing men as well as women abusing women. So she goes into a lot of conversations about that. She talks about the villainization of queer people, and how a lot of villains are coded as queer and such. And so when she's talking about these things, she's talking in the first person, and she's almost like she's explaining this through, the lens of her own mind is what she's come to learn. And that kind of experience, she talks about these experiences that are happening to her, intimately happening to her, but then she's also taking a step backwards and giving you the framework to understand exactly why it was so hard for her to actually get out of this abusive relationship on a more global or macro level, as opposed to just being entirely insular to her experience, which is what a lot of memoirs are. Memoir structure is, and memoirs in general, are purely about the person who's writing them's experience. And she is taking a more holistic, thank you. Holistic approach to looking at domestic abuse, especially in queer relationships, especially with female queer relationships, entirely. So you both have the empathy from, being in the you perspective, which is very heavy to deal with. I would look up trigger warnings for this book because it's not to be taken lightly, but you're also going to learn something today. And I think that's interesting because, with the structure of it, memoirs tend to be a little bit more freeform in their structure to begin with, but adding that structure of academic writing to it, I think is a very interesting subversion. And that's my TED Talk on why you should read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado.
That was such a great answer. Thank you so much for sharing that. Stig or Devesha, do you guys have any comments on what Kate said?
No.
Okay. Sam says the prophecy was fake all along. That is my fave subversion. That's a good one. I have too many things going on in my brain. I can't think of an answer for another question right now. Okay, fine. That's fine. You're good. You can just watch. Crystal says, I really like how Underworld Awakening did it instead of continuing from where the last movie lets off. It starts right in a chaos. Does anybody ever want to pronounce that word just chouse?
Yes. I would spell it wrong. I would spell it CHOAS.
I still loved your answer. I think it is a great subversive thing to say that the prophecy was not.
I love it. I saw this story idea once by
Mhm.
someone else. Forget their name. Doesn't matter. But the story idea is that it's a hero's journey prophecy, but then the hero is like deemed not the prophesied one, so it becomes the villain instead. And I love that idea. Like, you go to this temple, and you know you're supposed to be the hero and the chosen one, and then the priests are like, "Oop, wait a minute, you're not the chosen one. You made a mistake." And then instead he like becomes hell-bent on like destroying everything. I think that's fun.
I like I saw some, I think someone might be writing this sort of book, but where a person is raised to be the chosen one, but it turns out the people that are raising him are actually the ones who want to destroy the world, and so they've given him this prophecy and like raised him to believe that he's doing the right thing, when in reality he's going to burn the world down. And he's like he is the antagonist in the prophecy, but he believes he's the good one.
That was an episode of Doom Patrol. Well, that
I
happened. in
I
episode
thought you said that was
I
an
thought
episode of Paw Patrol.
I thought so too. This one's be like, what the fuck?
Children's show, and I was like, oh wow, okay, that's heavy for little puppies.
Speaking of subversion of like hero
Yeah.
tropes, I like the show The Boys and how the
Mhm.
superheroes are like not great people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't get past the first like inciting incident scene.
Oh god, that was
Oh my god, that scene.
Ooh, yes, I'm sorry. I believe you, but I will never watch that show because I literally almost vomited.
Yeah.
And I'm not squeamish.
No, and that show is really squeam inducing. So
Inducing.
or similarly, Invincible. I think it's also on Amazon Prime, an Amazon Prime show.
with Samuel L. Jackson.
No, it's an animated show.
Oh, what am I thinking of? Unbreakable, maybe is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, are you thinking of of the movie by M. Night Shyamalan?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Unbreakable.
there's Glass, Unbreakable, and
Is that this movie that Split?
Split?
Is a part of the
Split.
trilogy?
yes, Glass is the third one. It's Unbreakable, Split, Glass.
Yeah.
I worked in a movie store.
Says the
y'all
girl
watch
who's never seen The
Invincible on
Godfather.
Amazon Prime. It's so good. It's a good show.
I'm gonna have to watch this then.
Kippy says the after party is quite similar. It's a TV mystery TV show about a murder happening during a class reunion, and every episode has a different POV of how the night went down. Yeah, but I don't like it when it's an actual different POV. It has to be the same consciousness, but that's being transported into different bodies.
Similarly, though, I liked how Big Little Lies did it, about how they had the incident happen at the beginning, and you like see flashbacks of them in the confessional, but you also see their real lives.
Yes, that's like exactly what I was talking about earlier, where yeah. And again, I think I can deal with multi POV when it's in a TV show. I can't deal with it when it's in a book. Kelly says, I enjoyed A Plague of Giants subserving. It was a bard telling the overall plot with different stories involving improv. What is improv? I don't know what that is. Kivi says, each episode has a different format. Oh, this is cool. Each episode has a different format. The first episode is a rom-com. The second is an action movie. And the third is a musical. There's a cartoon episode. It's funny and great. Wait, I love this. Now I do want to watch this. This looks...
See, your James Gunn, James Wan version of your TV show of your book, Stig, could work out.
It could.
Yeah.
It's a dream come
Yeah.
true.
Can the Discord get questions in advance too? Yeah, we could do that. Oh wait, does the multiple endings of the clue count as a structure subverting? Because I think that's hilarious and I love it. I think that does count, right?
How did I not think of that? Damn,
Yeah.
Danny, showing me up.
Well, okay, maybe I'll do this. We'll think about it. Little K, I swear, this dog. Okay. Anyway, wow, so many comments, but we are at the hour mark, and I have an appointment I have to get to. Unfortunately, there's so many great answers. But I just feel like I don't have time. Danny says, I love that. You know, Danny, I love that I'm constantly asking you not to call me out, and then you're calling me out anyway. That's what I love. I love that Wells got to my first message about this question right when I had enough time. Oh, honey. Oh, she sounded actually upset about that one. Sorry. Passed for me to actually have an answer. I'm sorry. I remember seeing Chaos right now for the first time in the Cheetah Girls and being so confused.
What a way to find out the word chaos is spelled like that.
With an H. I just hate shows that try to be provocative for the sake of being provocative. That's fair. Actually, I love how they frame the first episode of Legends of Vox Machina with the typical party just getting destroyed, and then you meet a bunch of drunken nobodies who become heroes eventually.
You did the 2 first episodes of Vox Machina.
I would have liked that in theory, Crystal, and I think that the season overall was fabulous, but the first 2 episodes were so hard for me to get through. I was like really embarrassed. I was cringing the entire time. I was like, I think I said in the Discord that those 2 episodes sounded like a 5th grade boy who like just figured out how to curse for the first time, and it was really embarrassing, and you're cringing for them always. I'm not sure The Boys is being provocative for the sake of it. I think graphic violence is there to say something about the superhero genre in general. I agree, because in all these superhero movies, we see these cities get destroyed and millions of people are dying, and then it's never focused on. It makes me so sad, except it is, because they had like a whole arc about it. But yeah. Okay, Impov, multiple point of view. Fair enough. Okay. All right, guys. I'm sorry. We got we gotta end it. This has been so, I think, I really enjoyed today's discussion. Thank you so much for being patient with me and answering all of the questions. Do you guys have anything you want to say, introductions, etc.?
Thanks for hosting again.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for dealing with me. Grape, any final words?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye. Sorry, here's the thing. I just wanted to make sure that people saw the whole outro because it ends 10 seconds early, and I wanted people to see the Go Piss Girl. Anyway, bye.